what happened on day 24 of the Diddy trial. It was a slow and boring day for reasons that I'll explain. But the big news of the day was Juror 6, who many think was favorable for the defense and who wanted to stay on, was finally dismissed and replaced by an alternate. He lives in New Jersey instead of New York and got caught lying when he chatted up the court staff. The rest of the day was spent with law enforcement witnesses on the stand who were just reading text messages and other information into the record. A lot of the messages were to or from Christina Horan, who was Diddy's chief of staff and right hand. I've compared her to Epstein's Ghislaine Maxwell, and some of the victims have sued her in their civil lawsuits. I think it's a mistake for the government not to charge her, or at least threaten to charge her to flip against her former boss. Instead, they gave her a pass. There were texts between Horan and Diddy's assistants setting up the hotel rooms for the freak-offs, contacting escorts, and arranging for their travel and buying drugs. That's drug trafficking and the interstate nexus needed for the federal crimes like prostitution and sex trafficking. There was a text where victim Jane said Diddy threatened to expose her and send the sex tapes to her child's father. That's coercion and extortion. But on cross, the defense got out text messages where Cassie is setting up a freak-off with multiple escorts and saying that she really wants to do this again with you guys. And there were text messages where Jane told Diddy she won't make plans with him. That's all evidence of consent. There were also texts with D-Rock, Diddy's security, and victim Mia, after Cassie filed her lawsuit, where Diddy wants to send Mia money. Mia said her debt was her problem and that she would figure it out herself. This seems to be evidence of guilt and an attempted payoff. Remember, Mia said she was essayed by Diddy, and Gina, who's victim 3, didn't show up at trial. Was she paid off, afraid, embarrassed, or something else? Defense and cross tried to get out testimony that Diddy paid certain expenses with personal funds. There was discussion of whether invoices were sent to Bad Boy Entertainment or paid with Diddy's Amex or cash. They seemed to be attacking the criminal enterprise element of the racketeering charge. At the end of the day, the judge addressed the issue of another juror who had apparently been talking about the case to a former colleague in violation of the judge's instructions. Now, that juror may also be replaced, but I'll keep you updated. Here's what happened on day 24 of the Diddy trial. It was a slow and boring day for reasons that I'll explain. But the big news of the day was Juror 6, who many think was favorable for the defense.
It's day 24 of the United States versus Sean Combs, and juror number 6 was officially dismissed this morning. The defense had filed a letter on the 15th, which was last night, to the judge, stating that if this juror was officially dismissed, they would most likely move for a mistrial. They, again, I had mentioned this before, they really think that there is some racial bias going on because he was one of 5 black jurors. I think I had originally said 4, but there were 5. And the judge said that it would be improper to allow race to play a factor as to the fitness of this juror because there were clear inconsistencies when he was questioned multiple times about his residency. You know, the judge said, look, this is why we have alternates, and there was an alternate juror in his place, and I think he'll be questioned by the end of the day. But this alternate juror, he was significantly older. He was also a male. And, you know, just my opinion really quick, I watched the juror that was dismissed a lot because he was kind of on the end, and I saw his facial expressions. He seemed to be horrified a lot of the time. He was stressed or looked stressed a lot of the time. He would always look at the clock. So, you know, I don't know if that meant that he thinks Diddy is guilty, not guilty, but I'm just saying he was one of the jurors that did show a lot of expression. So then we started with the summary witness, Ananya Sankar, who worked for the U.S. Attorney's Office. She is a paralegal specialist, and she organizes the intake of evidence and trial prep. So she was pretty much taking us through communications. There were these charts on the screen, and it was KK's devices from March of 2016 through February of 2024. And she kind of went through certain text messages and recordings and things from KK's phone and told us why they were accurate, went through all these accuracy procedures and whatnot. Now, some of these text messages, I mean, I'll just go through the gist of what we saw, which I think is just more corroboration to the indictment and I guess the government's case in general, because there were texts about getting cash for Diddy when he was at these hotels, assistants, you know, picking it up from whichever security guard had the cash. There was also an assistant texting, Jessica Ruiz texted KK flight information for, quote, Paul Arthur, who we know was an escort. That directly relates to the indictment as well, transportation to engage in prostitution. There was a text from Jane asking KK for cash for Diddy, around 5 to 10K. There were also texts about getting packages from someone named Guido, who I guess we're speculating is perhaps a drug dealer, because there was multiple mentions of Guido in Christina Quorum's text messages. There were also some audio recordings. One of them, I believe we had heard before. It was Diddy talking to Jane in 2023, shortly after Cassie's lawsuit dropped, just saying, you know, I'm sorry that you felt this way. I didn't know that. You know, how do we move on, etc. And then Jane kind of crying and you know, just kind of answering, yeah, okay, you know, just whatever. She wasn't saying much. And then we saw text messages in December of 2023, really long messages from Jane to Diddy, and she is saying all the right buzzwords here. She's saying that she felt exploited and, quote, coerced, you know, being with him and all these things for so long. And then she texts KK about the fact that Diddy is trying to blackmail her with this sex tape and show it to her baby daddy if she doesn't comply. I didn't, again, these text messages were shown so quickly on the screen, I didn't get a chance to write all of it down, but it was something along those lines. And then we saw screenshots, pictures of screenshots from KK's phone of some of these text messages, and then a video where there was a video of the phone, and it was like a female's hand holding it. And just as a side note, I've been thinking that, you know, KK cooperated pretty much after Cassie's lawsuit dropped and kind of flipped and got some kind of deal where she could work with the government and help them get, you know, these witnesses and sort of guide them as to where they should be looking, because again, she's not taking a stand, obviously, and there's just a lot of information here. Oh, by the way, on Friday, I got stung by a bee out here, which is crazy. I pulled the stinger out, but anyway. Okay, so then we, you know, there was, again, more text between KK and assistants. You know, there was one that said something like, oh, like, he's gonna want a king night, and the assistant was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to re-up on baby oil, and stuff like that. Then we saw text messages between D-Rock and Diddy, and it's unclear to me if these messages also came from KK's phone. I'm not quite sure. Actually, I mean, they could have, but again, these were only between D-Rock and Diddy, and then D-Rock and Mia. So I don't think those came from KK's, but I will confirm where they came from after, or this afternoon. But there was text messages between D-Rock and Diddy where D-Rock said, this is November of 2023, he was checking on Diddy. This was after Cassie's lawsuit dropped, saying, you know, I love you, man, I'm here for you. And there was a heart emoji. And then Diddy said the same thing, you know, I love you, thanks for checking in. And then there was a text message. This has nothing to do with the case. I just kind of thought it was funny because D-Rock was like, send me a picture of your Thanksgiving plate, man. Let's keep the tradition alive. Like, they send each other pictures of, yeah, their Thanksgiving plates. But then I think the meat of this really was the text between D-Rock and Mia. And the witness, Sankar, kind of showed us how he would text Mia, then go back to Diddy and say, yeah, you know, this is what she said. This was the last thing she said. I just got a hold of her. And then we went over the text messages that Diddy had formerly sent Mia, which said, hey, I just want to talk to you type of thing. And during Tenny Garagos's cross-examination, she kind of pointed out a couple things within those text messages that I thought were maybe important. During Mia's direct examination, she had talked about how when D-Rock reached out to her initially, she had felt like he was offering to send her money. And I remember listening to this thinking, oh, how did she gather that what he asked, like when he said, can I send you something? Because she was scuba diving in Honduras or whatever. I just wanted to know how she kind of figured that was money, because I didn't really get that. But then we saw text messages that we hadn't seen before from Mia to D-Rock, where she had said, I'm low on quote unquote Skrilla. And then she kind of wrote AKA money. And that's when he's like, let me send you something. And she's like, oh no, don't worry about it type of thing. So Tenny kind of pointed that out. Tenny pointed out, D-Rock saying, oh, Mia's out of the country. And once he said that, there was no more calls between Diddy and Mia, because we had seen like 6 calls, I think, placed to Mia after he was communicating with D-Rock, and this was February of 2024. So Tenny was kind of pointing out, once he heard that, he didn't bother her again. She pointed out that he just said, Mia, I want to talk to you. I just want my memory jogged type of thing. And yeah, so I had stepped out at that point to do another hit for Nancy Grace, and I don't know why I said it like that, Nancy Grace. So I stepped out to do a hit for Nancy. So there was another witness on the stand after Ananya Sankar, and she was a government witness, a special agent that was just going through some other charts to confirm their accuracy and whatnot. So I'll do an update on what I missed later today, but that is really it for the morning for the most part. Pretty uneventful besides the juror. So again, the government should rest its case this week. Yay, hopefully that means we're halfway through. All right, I'll talk to everybody later. It's day 24 of the United States versus Sean Combs, and juror number 6 was officially dismissed this morning. The defense had filed a letter on the 15th, which was last.
After the short break, prosecutors showed text messages between Mia and D-Rock. D-Rock is Diddy's security. Mia was his former personal assistant who already testified. Text messages showed exactly what Mia had testified to, that D-Rock had reached out to her after Diddy got into legal trouble. First, D-Rock texted Diddy saying, I love you, man. If you need a friend, I'm here. Diddy responded saying, I'll call you back, talking to the kids. Later, D-Rock then texted Mia saying, where are you? And she said, Virginia Beach. D-Rock then texted Diddy, sending him Mia's phone number. Mia later responded to D-Rock saying, I didn't have my phone, I was scuba diving, and he says, we're opening a new restaurant on the 17th. And basically everything Mia said, it's shown in the text message where he's saying, let me send you something, and she says, I never asked for anything, and he said, I can send my sister a gift, can I? The prosecutor ended their questioning, and Tini Garagos comes up for cross-examination. Tini Garagos asks Ananya Sankar, isn't it true that D-Rock texted Mia saying that Diddy wanted to speak to her, and she says yes. And he also reassures her that Mr. Combs doesn't want anything from her, right? Yes, that's what the message says. He then shows a text message from Diddy to Mia where he tells her, hey, I don't want to be blowing up your phone, just need to talk to you for 10 minutes, just need my memory jogged on something. You were my right hand for years. So I just want to speak to you to remember who is even around me, and it would be good to hear your voice, but if you don't want to, all good, just let me know. Love, hope you're well. Obviously, the defense is trying to show that Diddy's messages were not threatening, and after Mia didn't respond, he left her alone. She then shows a text message from D-Rock to Diddy saying Mia's phone rings as if she's out of the country. Tini then asks her, and to be clear, you see no record suggesting that he called Mia again after that, and she says, yes, there are no further records of contact. Tini then...
Hi everyone, it's Sarah, and I'm back with a scoop on what happened in the Sean Diddy Combs trial on day 24, Monday, June 16th. Shocking evidence and a juror shakeup were the key moments in today's courtroom. And what was surprising for many...
Hey y'all, it's your girl Millie Chan. This is day 24, right? And the only reason I'm talking about this because there's a lot of stuff have come out this afternoon. I'm gonna go through the morning and then I'm gonna get to the afternoon. We're just gonna kind of slide through that. But this is Diddy right here, surrounded by his lawyers. Juror number 6 has left. He was a black man, and he left because he was being funny about where he lived. So they put him off. They have a white alternate, and the people are trying to make it a race situation, but the judge is like, no, because this is the most diverse jury that we've had in 25 years. So that didn't play. And from what I've been hearing, Kanye's name has come up. So let's go into a little of the morning and let's get into this afternoon. So for today's summary, witnesses and Diddy drug mule Brendan Paul, that's what they're going to be talking about today. We already talked about replacing the African-American jury with a white one. It's an alternate, and it's not a decision on race. So juror 6 has been excused and the alternate is now in his place, which happens to be a Caucasian person. So Ananya Sanker, she's a paralegal specialist at U.S. Attorney's Office. And what she does, she has gone through 2 summary charts. She said she was asked to verify the accuracy of. She has DiDDY's devices and KK's devices, right? She said, can you describe the documents underlining these charts? She said about 100 pages. And child, Christina Coram, she's kind of like the Olivia Pope of the Diddy situation. She kind of fixes things and she handles things, okay? And then they talk about how she responds to different people in the text. So child, they had an audio file. And so what Sanker and the AUSA did, they did some role playing. So Sanker was KK and the AUSA was Dave Shirley. Yeah. So they had this conversation about, can you run me $4,000 in cash? Dave said, sure. Sanker said, heads up, he's about to do a wild night tonight. Don't forget to pick up the money. Just give it to Fahim, just in case. Charlie was talking about bringing in Gatorade and chicken noodle soup. Like, it's a conglomerate. Honey, so this is another role play situation. Please read these between Jane and Miss Coram. Sanker, SKK, asked them if they can bring up 15 towels. Jane would say he always brings up between 5 and 10. They're expecting people to leave the presidential suite at 1 p.m. KK would say, we're taking off. And then the AUSA said, what are these about? She said, they're setting up a flight for Jane. What's this? A flight information for Jessica Ruiz to KK for Arthur Jr. and Paul. And these, cash for Guido. So, child, we're getting ready to get back into some role playing, okay? So, the special agent Penland said, I want to direct your attention to line 23. I'll read Mr. Combs, you read Miss Ventura. So, the AUSA is Combs, and then we got somebody else that's Cassie. So, Penland is Cassie. Call Jules. Can you send me the hotel info about to smoke? What are you doing? The AUSA is Combs says, what up? Cassie says, I asked him to drive around and we will hit him when we want him to come up. Child, AUSA said, as Puff, I'm a bit more actually excited than last time. Dress casually and bring baby oil. Cassie would say, casual, yes. Baby oil, no. And then the AUSA as Johnny LA Strip, on my way to La Emirage. And then the Cassie would say, do you mind driving around until I tell you? So I kind of double back right here. So the AUSA said, what does Coram write to Sean Combs? She writes, Guido outside. Combs replies with an audio message, play it. Voice Combs sounds hoarse, says, about Guido, take care of it, please. And what does Christian do? It's done. She is the fixer, the handler. Like, people go to her. Like, she's literally Diddy's right-hand woman. And I don't believe Diddy was messing with her because that would have made it a little tricky. But she knows everything. Then the AUSA was like, do some of these messages involve Cassie? She said, yes. Page 5, May 2nd, 2017. What are these? Sanker said text between Cassie and KK. So as Ventura, WTF, as KK, are you okay? No, this is Cassie. No one deserves to be dragged by their hair. Like, this is a conversation. Like, as a woman, when you say, girl, you are right, let me help you get out of this. No, ma'am, she doesn't say that. So now this row 87 to 92 is Cassie and KK talking, okay? So Cassie would say, I just can't anymore. KK said, I'm here for you. Heart emoji. Cassie said, I'm burnt, I'm bummed, but don't want to derail. KK was like, definitely don't derail. It's not worth it. Then the AUSA is like, let's turn to Jane's messages. You read Jane. So as Jane, we got into a tussle. I'm not doing hotel night. I'll bring him a cake. What is the date of this filing? November 16, 2023. What are these? Audio files from November 19, 2023. They want to play it. Audio, phone ringing, Combs voice. We can't really talk on this phone. You know what I'm saying? I called, I reached out. You know what I'm saying? My love is definitely true. Just some kinky stuff that I thought we definitely, I don't know, enjoy. That's what it says. Then this is what Jane is saying. I don't know. Her voice is cracking. It's like word for word. It's like crazy to me. It feels sick. Then Diddy said, but like you know, they turned off audio. Play the next one. Audio comes on. Diddy says, I really need your friendship right now. Don't send no text. And then Diddy is heard saying, I just needed to tell you, I need your friendship. Baby, I got to meet my moms. You know what I'm saying? Please pray for me. Okay, then they turn off the audio. Then the AUSA is like 3 days later, what are these? Child, she said, KK writes, we all know you're kryptonite. What? And then as Combs, the AUSA is playing Combs now. Please make sure Robin makes sure that rent is paid. As KK, Robin said her rent was paid. AUSA, what is this? An image found on Miss Karam's phone from December 2023. A photo of a cell phone screen. It says, I lost work opportunities. Now, in this right here, it's some threats to Jane because they're saying it's going to be some tapes sent to your baby daddy. She said, as Jane to KK, he said he would send the tapes to my baby daddy. I'm traumatized. He asked me who I'm seeing over and over. And then Jane would say, he said he'll send the tapes to the father of my child. On them, I'm drugged. I'm beyond hurt by him. What does Miss Karam say? As KK, I haven't spoken with him. And then the AUSA was like, and these photos of a cell phone, can you read them? Child, as Jane, you have messed up everything you win. What are these? Videos found on KK's device. Miss Foster playing. Like $1,000. What is the photo? It's like a long manicured nail, so I guess her hands got in the way. So, child, at this point, they had gone on break, and now they're back, and they're just role-playing back-to-back. So, Diddy's talking to D-Rock, he's with his kids, he had to call them back. They brought Maya back into it. She's in Virginia Beach. AUSA is being Maya to D-Rock. I didn't have my phone. I was scuba diving. Sanker says, as D-Rock, we're opening up a new restaurant on the 17th. He said,
Day 24.
Jurors heard several text messages.
Next witness who took the stand, who will continue tomorrow, is Special Agent DiDDY Penland. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Both witnesses today were summary witnesses, and with Special Agent Penland, the government introduced a 71 entry chart that detailed alleged freak-offs involving Diddy, Cassie, escorts, and dated all the way back to 2009. And this chart included travel itineraries, hotel reservations, bank statements, and text messages. These records link Cassie, Diddy, and escorts like Jules to specific hotels, including in December of 2009, a stay at the London Hotel in New York City, which involved all three of them. The government introduced text messages between Diddy and Jules where they were rearranging flights for Jules. The text from Diddy said Friday at 4, and Jules responded, I'm available Friday through Sunday, whatever flight works. Agent Penland testified that the hotel and flight bookings were made using Diddy's Amex card with payment from a signature bank account. The court then shut off all the screens except for the jury's, and the jury got to see 2 videos from October of 2012 that were recovered from Cassie's devices. Obviously, because reporters did not have access to what was being played, I would assume it's likely videos of what would happen at these hotels, but I could be wrong. That's just my assumption. Then started playing audios for the jury where Diddy is telling Cassie, are you, this word, want to have a freak off? Cassie is then heard telling Diddy, call Jules, can you send hotel info? He responds saying, dress casually, bring baby oil. And she responds saying, casual, yes, baby oil, no. There's another exchange where Diddy is telling Cassie that he's heading to the Trump in Columbus Circle and asks her, can you contact the front desk and get the Corn channel unlocked? And she said, just call them. Special Agent Penland then outlined how Diddy staff would coordinate these meetings. She confirmed Cassie's travel to New York City for these nights, including Christmas in 2012 and January of 2013. Evidence included invoices billed to Bad Boy Entertainment, alias hotel bookings, and texts where these entertainers expressed eagerness to participate again. This is where she stopped. She will be back tomorrow, and I believe the prosecutors have 2 to 3 more witnesses. It should be done around Wednesday. There's no court on Thursday.
If it's one thing about me, I love me some jury duty, okay? I'd call everybody like, I just got a jury duty summons, and I'd be calling every day like, please.
Week 6 of the trial of Sean. And for the 3rd time, the judge has denied a mistrial request. It's day 24 of Diddy's trial, and I don't think he's having a good morning because yesterday his team put in a request for a mistrial if the judge removed juror number 6, which he did. Now remember, last week the prosecutors wanted to bring in juror number 6 to question him once again, and Diddy's attorney said, we've already questioned him once, we're not going to do it again. But now that the judge has decided to remove juror number 6, his team wanted to continue questioning him. Juror number 6 is a 41-year-old black man who told the court that he lived with his fiance and his daughter in the Bronx. Last week, when they questioned him, he said he actually just recently moved to New Jersey with his fiance, but 4 to 5 days he spent in the Bronx at his aunt's. Diddy's attorney had an issue with this juror being removed, saying it would reduce racial diversity. But the judge pushed back, saying it would be improper to let the race of the juror and the alternate juror factor into the proper course here at all. Well, now replacing him is alternate 1, who is a 57-year-old white man from Westchester County. Meanwhile, there seems to be more drama because there could be another juror who might get removed. The judge told the court that there's a separate issue with a different panelist and it has nothing to do with juror number 6. But to sum it all up, juror 6 is out, another one is under review, and mistrial request has been denied. And for the 3rd time, the judge has denied a mistrial request. It's day 24.
It is Monday, day 24 in the Diddy trial, and this is the recap after the lunch break. Special Agent with the U.S. Attorney's Office, DiDDY Penland, is back on the stand. Prosecution played video entered into evidence under seal, meaning the jury could see and hear what's going on, but not the public. The jury was shown records tied to a 2009 meeting between Cassie, Sean, and an escort named Jules. Records included flights and hotels for the weekend that were paid for by Sean's American Express. The record showed that Sean paid for flights for Cassie and Jules and the hotel room. The jury is then shown travel invoices sent to Bad Boy Entertainment for a flight for Cassie from LA to New York, October 2012. Special Agent DiDDY Penland then read text messages between Cassie and Sean. Sean's like, are you ready for tonight? Cassie says yes, but she needed to get something. He's like, man, you had all day. It's always something. The jury then saw messages Cassie sent separately to 2 men discussing times to meet and giving them information for the hotel room in New York. The invoice for that hotel room was reserved under the name Janet Clark and paid in cash. They then see text messages of Sean and Cassie setting up a freak-off with 4 men in January 2013. Cassie texted with one man who runs the escort service to arrange for one escort and personally texted the others to set up staggered times of arrival. The jury then sees text messages from Cassie to a man named Dave in October of 2013. She's asking the man to come to the hotel room around 1 a.m. Dave then texts her, thanks, LOL, around 8 a.m. Then shortly before 8 a.m., Cassie texts another man, Daniel Phillip, asking him to wait a few more minutes. Good Lord, they got these set up back to back. That is wild. Then Cassie texts Sean, you didn't film anything on your phone, right? Sean says, no way. They then wrap up early. The jury is dismissed for the day. They did say Special Agent Penland will be back on the stand tomorrow morning. Now, after the jury left, the prosecution indicated that Brendan Paul, Sean's former assistant, will invoke his Fifth Amendment right Tuesday morning, so he will be testifying under immunity. Then the defense asked the judge, what was said to the other jurors about juror number 6 being dismissed? The judge said he'd find out and tell the attorneys tomorrow morning. So I don't know if that's what they need to talk to that one juror about, because I told you there's another juror that's possibly being questioned by the judge. But I guess we'll find out tomorrow morning. It is Monday, day 24 in the Diddy trial, and this is the recap after the lunch break. Special agent with the U.S. Attorney's Office, DiDDY Penland, is back on the stand. Prosecution played video entered into evidence under seal, meaning the jury could see and hear what's going on, but not the public. The jury was shown records tied to a 2009 meeting between Cassie, Sean, and an escort named Jules. Records included flights and hotels for the weekend that were paid for by Sean's American Express. The record showed that Sean paid for flights for Cassie and Jules and the hotel room. The jury is then shown travel invoices sent to Bad Boy Entertainment for a flight for Cassie from LA to New York, October 2012. Special agent
Diddy trial day 24 sang. Diddy trial day 20. Good morning. It is day 24 of the Diddy trial. So Monday morning, it is still raining here in New York. Diddy trial day 20.
Claimed last week they only have 5 witnesses left, and the first one that was called today is Ananya Senkar. He is a paralegal specialist with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Her job was to walk the jury through 2 summary charts, which included text messages, call logs, audio clips, videos, and photos. Her job was to review hundreds of pages of documents and confirm their accuracy. Most of the messages they have reviewed this morning involved KK as well as Cassie and Jane Doe. She began by reviewing text messages between KK and Ryan Lopez, who was also one of Diddy's assistants. In one of the messages, it showed that KK responded to Ryan Lopez after he had told her he had seen one of the male entertainers in the hotel lobby, and she sent 4 laughing emojis. Text her saying, "You can spot them like an escort." She laughed and said, "How long is he gonna stay awake?" Her other text messages between KK and another assistant named Dave Shirley, where she was coordinating a king night, talking about the delivery of $4,000 in cash from Rock to the hotel, preparation of Gatorade, soup, and bath towels for the suite, a reminder to re-up on baby oil, and ish. In other text messages between KK and Diddy, she's telling him that Guido is outside. And remember, we know that Guido is one of the substance dealers. He responds with an audio saying, "About Guido, take care of it, please." There's also text messages between KK and Jane Doe, where KK says, "Ask them if they can bring up 15 bath towels." Jane Doe responds saying, "He always brings between 5 to 10K. They are expecting people to leave the presidential suite at 1 p.m. There's also a text message from May 2nd, 2017, where Cassie texts KK saying, "What the F?" Also tells KK that she locked herself in a room for safety and doesn't have her belongings, and then said no one deserves to be dragged by the hair. KK responded saying she would talk to Diddy. For a text between them again in April of 2018, where Cassie says, "I just can't anymore," and KK replied, "I'm here for you," with a heart emoji, and warned her not to derail her goals. Text messages between Jane Doe and KK, where Jane Doe says, "I'm not doing hotel night, I'll bring him a cake." There's an audio clip played from November of 2023 where Diddy is telling Jane Doe, "We can't really talk on this phone. My love is true, just some kinky-ish." This was after Jane Doe had seen Cassie's lawsuit, and she said, "It feels sick." He is then begging for her friendship and then says, "Please pray for me." Text messages between KK and Diddy, where Diddy is telling her, "Please make sure Robin Greenhill pays the rent." KK responded to Diddy saying, "Robin said her rent was paid." And there's text messages between Jane Doe and KK, where Jane Doe is telling her that Diddy is threatening to show her tapes to the father of her child. She says to her, "I'm traumatized. He asked me who I'm seeing over and over again." She tells KK that on those tapes, she's can't say the word, and says, "I'm beyond hurt by him." KK's response was, "I haven't spoken with him." There was also a photo on KK's phone of a text message where Jane said, "You have effed everything up, you win." There are other text messages of KK laughing about shopping styles, calling them King Night mode or Gucci bag mode. Now, it's very clear the main focus this morning was KK showing how big of a role she plays in his alleged crimes. She's arranging the hotels as well as the entertainers, and she's also helping cover the emotional fallout with his partners. Now, they did take a short break. She will be back on the stand once they're back, and I will continue to update you.
Diddy trial, day 24.
Sean Combs' trial, day number 24 of testimony. Kanye West was here today. I was the only.
On day 23 of the Diddy sex trafficking trial, Sean Combs' former personal assistant testified about the sexual and personal items that he bought for Combs for his so-called king nights. Here are some of the highlights from that testimony. On day 23 of the Diddy sex...
The honey-like enhances a man's libido.
Where would you get the items that you needed to set up a king night at a hotel?
Typically from the house.
And if they weren't in the house, where would you purchase them?
Stores, like regular stores like Target, Walgreens, CVS, or on Amazon.
Did you ever go to sex stores?
Yes.
Who told you to go to those sex stores?
Either Mr. Combs or a guest.
And what, if anything, would you purchase there?
Like adult outfits and shoes.
What kinds of shoes?
High heels.
And how would you pay for the items that you purchased for king nights?
Either on my company card or cash.
Where would you get the cash to purchase these items?
Typically from security.
Was there ever a time that you saw a video of Jane and someone other than Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Remember approximately when this was?
Maybe about a year into my employment.
How did it come about that you learned of the video?
There was a videographer who was screaming the name of one of the other assistants that was working at the time, and that assistant was with Mr. Combs. So I went into the theater to see what the commotion was about, and he showed me the video.
And what was the videographer's name who showed you the video?
Brandon.
And did you end up watching the video?
A portion of it.
What device was the video on?
An iPad.
Who generally used that iPad?
The staff.
And from what you saw, what did the video show?
Jane and another man engaging in sexual activity.
And was there anyone else in the video?
Mr. Combs in the background.
What did the other man look like?
I didn't see him. It was a black man.
Did you recognize that man?
No.
Who, if anyone, did you tell about the video?
Mr. Combs and KK.
Who did you tell first?
Mr. Combs.
How soon after seeing the video did you tell Mr. Combs?
Maybe an hour or two.
And how did he react?
He was surprised.
Did you have any further conversations with Mr. Combs about this video?
No.
You mentioned that you told KK, is that right?
Yes.
How soon after you told Mr. Combs did you tell KK?
It was the same day, so whenever she got to the house is when I told her.
What did KK say to you in this conversation?
She said that in the future, things like that I should just bring to her, and she would communicate them to Mr. Combs.
Did there come a time when you spoke with KK about this video a second time?
Yes.
When approximately was that?
Maybe 6 months after.
And how did that conversation come about?
KK said she wanted to have a chat about something, so we went into the gym, and she asked me to reiterate to her exactly what happened the day I found the video, everyone who was there, where I was, just to run down all the details to her.
Did she say why she wanted you to reiterate this?
She said that she had got a call from someone outside of the company talking about the video in some capacity.
And did you convey to her the same things you've been talking about today?
Yes.
Did you record that conversation?
No.
What was your understanding of whether that conversation was being recorded?
I wasn't aware it was being recorded.
Did you ever clean up from a king night?
Yes.
When you went to clean up hotel rooms after a king night, what generally did they look like?
They were just a bit of a mess and disarray.
And how so?
Just like lots of sheets and towels and oils.
What did you do when you cleaned up these hotel rooms?
Typically, the reason for going was to collect all of the items that were left behind. So anything we brought, we would typically bring back with us.
Would you do anything else when you were in the room?
Sometimes like a quick clean, just putting the room back together in some way, or gathering towels and sheets together so the room wasn't a mess.
Did you do that cleaning before or after hotel staff helped clean?
Before.
Why would you do it before?
Sometimes the hotels would know who was staying in the room, so just to kind of, out of respect for the staff and, just to kind of help the cleanup crew.
Were there any times you saw Mr. Combs and his guest after a king night?
Yes.
How would they typically appear?
Tired.
At the end of king nights, what, if anything, would assistants arrange for Mr. Combs and his guest?
A good meal, a massage, or a drip like an IV,
What's the purpose of a drip or an IV?
To put them to sleep.
Do you recognize these documents?
Yes.
What are they?
Text messages.
Whose text messages are they?
Mine.
Who are the participants in this particular chat?
KK and Joey.
So KK first says, checking in. How's the setup going? How much longer do y'all need? What did you understand her to be talking about?
The setting up of a hotel room.
Joey responds, it's going. Should be done in 30. And then Christina says, okay, please keep me posted. List of what Jane wants for hotel. Maybe new outfits, shorts for him, size large, fruits, shakes, juices. And how did you respond?
Coffee. We got fruits, shakes, and juices. I'm about to run to store quick and send her outfit options.
What store are you referring to?
The adult store.
And what kinds of outfits are you talking about here?
Like lingerie type outfits for women.
Then Christina says, is room done yet? Joey says, bellman coming up to get our luggages. Christina says, so how much longer till room is done? How did you respond?
Room is done. Just trying to get all bags back down in truck, then going to store.
And what did you mean when you said room is done?
That the setting up of the room is done.
When were these text messages sent?
May 20th, 2023.
At what time?
12:38 a.m.
Christina says, is PD at hotel yet? Who is she referring to here?
Mr. Combs?
Joey says, here, Ricky 40 away. Who is Ricky?
Ricky is one of the IV people, like one. Drip people.
Did Mr. Combs have any other people who provided him IVs during this time period?
Yes.
And who were some of those people?
There was various people. I mean, this was our main guy in Miami, but there were various people in LA.
Christina then says, Joey, how's cleanup going? What did you understand her to be asking about?
The cleanup of the room.
Joey then said, slipped and fell twice, but call him bell cart in about 10 minutes. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
What is it?
Mr. Combs's Gucci pouch.
What was typically kept inside of Mr. Combs's Gucci pouch?
Drugs and money.
What kind of drugs?
Cocaine, ketamine, Molly, Adderall, Xanax.
And before King Nights, what, if any, responsibilities did you have related to the Gucci pouch?
Can you rephrase? Sorry.
What responsibilities, if any, did you have related to the Gucci pouch here?
In relation to King Nights?
Yes.
Oh, just making sure that it was in Mr. Combs' personal backpack that would travel with him.
Where typically was the Gucci pouch located?
In his backpack.
Was that backpack typically with Mr. Combs?
Yes, sometimes.
When he went to King Nights, was it typically with him?
Yes.
As part of your employment, did you have any role in obtaining drugs?
A handful of times.
And what did you do generally?
What do you mean?
What did you do related to drugs?
Either purchase them or grab them from someone outside.
And who would ask you to grab or purchase drugs?
Mr. Combs or one of the assistants.
And who were you getting those drugs for?
Mr. Combs.
What drugs did you purchase or grab for Mr. Combs?
Xanax, cocaine, and Molly.
Who did you get these drugs from?
There was someone named Baby Girl and someone named Guido.
And how did you learn of this person named Baby Girl and this person named Guido?
Just from being around, just being in the assistant circle.
And who told you about them?
One of the assistants or Mr. Combs.
How would you pay for the drugs when you were purchasing them?
Cash.
Where did you get the cash?
Either from security or from Mr. Combs' Gucci pouch or top drawer.
And if you're going to security, who from security would you ask for cash?
Fahim.
Would you submit receipts to Fahim for cash purchases?
On occasion.
What are we generally looking at here?
A text between me and Fahim.
Could you read the message?
Hi, Fa. Diddy just has Dontre pull out $1,200. $700 went to Guido, and I'm about to get some food from the store for him with the remaining $500. I'll send the receipts. I didn't know Guido was even coming. Happened all too fast.
You referenced Fa here. Who is that?
Fahim.
What about Dontre?
One of the security guards.
And who is Guido?
A drug dealer.
And why did $700 go to Guido?
I'm assuming for drugs.
Did you submit receipts to Fahim when you purchased drugs?
No.
And could you please zoom in on the last text message? Could you please read that message?
Hi, can you pull $2,100? Guy coming tonight plus $1,524.60. My cash that I spent while in LA still waiting on TriStar for my other funds. And then I wrote the total.
And you mentioned TriStar. What is TriStar?
TriStar is or was Mr. Combs' business managers.
What did TriStar do for Mr. Combs?
So they helped onboard employees, and they helped manage his homes and his overall money. Yes, my understanding.
Who, if anyone, did you interact with from TriStar?
Robin Greenhill.
What was Robin Greenhill's role?
I don't know what her exact role at TriStar is or was, but she was like our account manager.
You mentioned something that I think I'm quoting. If I'm not quoting, I'm not trying to misquote you, but you said because we are working out of Mr. Combs' homes, sometimes personal matters and business were sometimes mixed, or something to that effect?
Yes.
And by that, you're saying that sometimes, even though it's not in your employment, you do things that are in personal nature for Mr. Combs. Is that true?
Yes.
And by that personal, would you classify it as personal or work-related, setting up the King night?
Personal.
And would you consider it personal or work-related the few times, I'm not saying it's many times, purchasing or obtaining or transporting or taking possession of drugs for Mr. Combs?
Personal.
And you're not proud you did that. I'm not saying it's great judgment, but you did it just because it was really Mr. Combs' personal habit. That's how you looked at it, right?
Yes.
It had nothing to do with your work, right?
No.
You weren't getting paid to buy drugs or set up King nights in hotel rooms, right?
No.
You just did it because you're a nice person, right?
Yes.
Now, at any time in preparing for this, what you're calling a King night, when you were speaking with Jane about her dress and getting items for her and setting up either her house or a hotel, did you ever get the feeling that she was hesitant of joining the King night?
No.
Did she always appear to you that she was a willing participant in the King night?
Yes.
Objection.
That's overruled. I couldn't hear your answer.
Yes.
Did Jane ever appear to you from your observation that she was in any way upset or unhappy after the King night?
No.
When we talk about drugs for Mr. Combs, are we talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of drug trafficking amounts? Or are we talking about smaller amounts of drugs?
Objection.
Rephrase. About a couple $100 spent in drugs?
Yes.
And do you remember March 2024, there were search warrants executed on Mr. Combs' different residences?
Yes.
And you've been in all those residences, true?
Correct.
And were you in Mr. Combs' bedroom at 2-Star?
Yes.
Frequently?
Yes.
At any time, did you ever see any firearms in and around that bathroom?
No.
At any time, did you ever see firearms in and around the bathroom closet?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Combs with a firearm?
No.
In your years of employment with him?
No.
Now, there are firearms around the properties, true?
Yes. The only firearms I've ever seen were with security.
And those are the people hired to protect Mr. Combs, his co-workers, guests, the property, etc., right?
Correct.
Y'all hit the like and subscribe button. Follow me for more updates on the DiDDY trial.